Welcome back, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, and turtles alike, to another exciting episode of War Thunder Weekly News. This week has officially become Dovbleg season for the next patch, and Gaijin made a major mistake, in my personal opinion, and now everybody hates them again. So be sure to hit the subscribe button and let's tune in exactly what's going on. First off, let's talk about the first Dovbleg of the upcoming patch, as well as the patch's name, which we'll get to in a second. However, if you want to skip to the salty stuff, there will be timestamps below so you can get right there. So the first Dovbleg is for a destroyer escort, the Akebono, and looks to be like your usual post-war destroyer escort, armed with 76mm cannons that have HETV fuses, and will most likely appear somewhere in the end of the rank 2 line. Like most of the ships, I'm sure it's going to destroy all the other vehicles except for destroyers, which will probably annihilate it. Well, so long as the destroyer gets the hit on you. You can do quite a lot of damage to some of the early destroyers, and the later ones even, with some of those late rank 2 vehicles. So all good, you know, it's a destroyer escort. Cool, I guess. I would prefer a tank for Japan, but yeah, it's something, I guess. So now let's get into some of the more thought-provoking sections we have here. The well-known forum Dataminer had dug up what is presumed to be the title of the next patch, which is On Full Alert. Now, I'm assuming this isn't your first War Thunder patch, so you probably recognize that the patches typically have something to do with what's coming in it. For example, the patch Locked On, we got radar. The patch Supersonic, we got supersonic jets. And the patch Starfighter, we got starfighters. So what exactly could On Full Alert lead to? In modern conversation, it typically refers to in a situation where conflict could happen at any time, so you have to pay attention to everything. And in the sense of a military vehicle video game, what kind of situations would you have to be constantly paying attention to things that come out of seemingly the blue? Well, there are two that people really like going for. The first one, which also kind of bleeds into the vehicle that we got in the first Dovbleg, submarines popping up out of the water out of nowhere, or firing torpedoes before you can even see them. Definitely something you would have to be on full alert for. Now, what else would say that Navy is coming? Well, there's an obvious demand for them because people keep on asking ever since Naval was added. Heck, even before Naval was added. Besides that, there's not a whole lot saying that it will be submarines. The other possible option is beyond visual range missiles, which my personal take is probably more likely based on some hinting that we got for it a few months back. There also has been a group of people asking for it as well. Not nearly as many for submarines, but people want submarines for the iconic factor or the gameplay factor, while people want beyond visual range for the iconic factor too, but also mainly because gameplay factor. They want to experience something new with their top tier jets. Now, would beyond visual range missiles be a good thing for the game? Would they make it better, or would they detriment it, much like helicopters did? From my understanding, they wouldn't be as OP as they sound like, because they're not just magical, you fire and it kills a jet for you missiles, especially the early ones. However, for it to function in a much more proper sense, the maps would have to be a bit bigger, which I'm sure Gaijin can manage. It's not like the aircraft maps are much detailed. Could be some other connotations on what they mean by On Full Alert, so if you can think of anything, be sure to comment down below exactly what you think it is. I'd be very curious to hear it out. Now, unfortunately for Gaijin, at least for me, a Dovbleg and the name being Datamine up are not going to distract me from the major disaster that they had caused. Only a day prior to this Dovbleg, they had made an update to the server in which all top tier vehicles that are not British or Swedish had lost a stock APFSDS round, and now all start with Heat FS. If they had a stock APFSDS round, you would now need to research that round. Now, if you've been paying attention or played top tier at all, or played a little bit of top tier like I have, you would understand that Heat FS at top tier is absolute garbage because most tanks are designed to deflect Heat FS, not be affected by that. That's what the main bonus composite armor brings, is good protection against Heat FS. So if you've ever grind out a Type 90, you would understand that when you're stuck with only Heat FS, the tank is absolutely awful. While you have to look for weak spots and try to get on the side of the enemy vehicle, they have all the ability in the world to easily penetrate straight through your turret, thanks to them having APFSDS. So now this awful situation that's bestruck the French and Japanese high-tier tanks is now spread to every tree, so everybody gets to suffer. Now you might begin to think, well, you know, actually that's not too bad of an idea, because it makes ERA actually useful, makes armor actually useful, level, and so you have to kind of play with the meta. Well, here's the thing. You don't get put into a special matchmaker once you get the APFSDS. It's all in the same matchmaker. So this is going to heavily affect players, not who have been playing top tier all their life, but people who are just getting into it, are going to be stuck with their stock tank trying to shoot an inefficient shell at enemy armor, while the enemies already have, because they already ground out the high tier ammunition, able to penetrate right through them. So to set the scene, once you ground out the M1 Abrams you've been looking so much forward to getting, now with this change, you will not stand much of a chance against the competition. But not only that, is once you get penetrated by them, you won't be able to repair or put out fires. That's the state of stock top tier right now. You can't do damage, and you can't heal yourself. It's almost as if, like in Call of Duty, new players spawned without any ammunition. Perhaps that's a bit hyperbolic, as you do have plenty of ammunition to try to throw at the enemy, and you can kill with the heat once you get on the side of the enemy tank, but it's not easy. Like, I haven't played a whole lot of top tier, so a lot of times when I'm talking about it, I have to assume or try to get implications off things I read on. One thing I do have a lot of experience in top tier is drive around with a stock tank and shooting heat FS, because the top tier tanks I have are the Japanese ones. So believe me when I tell you, trying to use heat FS at top tier is not viable. Back when the heat FS could penetrate, I think it was 650 millimeters, you could get quite a lot done, especially with a fast firing cannon. But once they nerfed it down to 480, it heavily diminished the ability of what you're able to do with that round. With a little bit of ERA, like most Russian tanks have a module for, and you will definitely be running into, it's just about impossible to penetrate them from the front, and heck, even the sides at times. Now before I go a little too far on this rant, there were some positive things that came out of this update. If the tank had prior only one higher tier shell and already a stock heat shell, like the Type 90 for example, that higher tier heat shell is no longer going to be a 4th tier modification, but a 3rd tier modification. And the what were stock APFSDS shells that they had taken away from you, they did not place them high on the modification tree either. They are rank 1. Upon that, the M1 IP did indeed get the M833 shell, though it has quite low penetration than what people were expecting, and the Leclerc got an OFL G1 120 shell, giving it a low tier APFSDS shell, so you don't have to stick with the heat all the way till the top. Another positive change that wasn't part of the original update but a day later is that they changed up the shell costs, putting it down to what tier of modification they are on. So a tier 1 shell would cost 200 silver lines, a tier 2 would cost 300, a tier 3 would cost 400, and a tier 4 would cost 600, which fixed some of the stupidity that's going around where tanks that have 2 different APFSDS shells at the same cost. However, they have it fixed to the point where if the tank only has 1 APFSDS shell at tier 3, it still costs 600, because Gaijin just doesn't like you. Like, this is just another one of those changes that everyone hates them for. Like, I'm trying to be really nice and lenient with my view on this, but it's just dumb. Like, how in any way is this not this dumb trying to get more money by people GEing a better shell? Like, here, they put out some reasoning on why they did this, so I will read it word for word so you can fully understand. We made this change because it is now more fair in relation to all nations. Earlier, some of them had an advantage that was already an APFSDS. After this change, there will be an abundance of lower performing shells that need to be researched. We could not give all nations an equal default entry APFSD shells, because some of them simply do not have them in arsenal. For example, the Type 90. If necessary, we will balance shell prices. So Gaijin's logic here is that some of these tanks suffer. Why not have them all suffer? Misery is better in groups. Like Gaijin, when you answered that Q&A question, which apparently are questions that somebody asked, nobody was saying we want everybody to be unhappy. Nobody was saying that. This isn't something people wanted. It might be what you wanted because you can make a lot of easy money off of it. Annoy people to the point where they give you money to make the annoyance go away. What I think is really annoying me the most about this is the fact that a day later they tried to sweep it under the rug by like, hey look, dev blogs. See, originally my thinking was they decided to do this because the event tank that they are about to release has add-on composite armor. And if that armor is anything like the composite on the M48 Super, it would actually be effective against heat. However, there won't be much being thrown around because the Abrams comes with stock APFSDS rounds. But if you're able to make it so there's more heat going around, the tank's going to seem more effective and it'll sell better. That was my original thinking of this, and you know, it still kind of applies, but the fact that they decided to attempt to sweep it under the rug with a dev blog, and probably more in the future, shows that their real goal on this is just to piss people off and get more money out of them. Moral of the story, guys, giving money to the snail will never improve the game. It will make you slightly less annoyed every time you do it, but the game will never be better. And eventually, come at the end, the snail will just find another way to annoy you till you give it money. Right before the end of this video, first I want to note a few other changes that they did. They made it so all tanks are bad at going up hills in attempts to stop people from climbing the hills they're not supposed to and getting to really nice sniping spots. It didn't work. People can still get there. And Naval EC is apparently supposed to be coming back sooner or later. Here's an ulterior proposal. Instead of giving your money to Gaijin who doesn't care about it and actually tries to annoy you, why don't you pitch in a bit to help out the content you already like these lovely people who have on the Patreon, CMDR Edward and Sukableh89. Thank you very much. As well as the YouTube members, I like them thick, Matthew Cameron, Lars Henrik, The Royal Rat, Peter Kuklinski, Nico Korkamaki, Mehmet Hazarchi, Joel Blowski, Tex, Roger Rammer, Grimace, Mighty Peppers, Pointless Gunsinks, and Waffly Joker 6. You guys are true legends, and also happen to be entitled to some pictures of my cats if you so wish. In fact, you too can get pictures of my cats if you join the channel for a measly $1 or 3 cents per day, either on Patreon or the YouTube join button, both of which have links down below. Be sure to check them out. But if you have any comments, concerns, or questions about the video, or really anything, you can hit me up down below in the comments or on my Discord. If you've liked the video, be sure to hit the like button. If you didn't like the video, don't hit the like button. If you want to see more, I make more Thunder Weekly News videos I'm gonna try to do Friday now, because the last news of the week is always on Friday. Sometimes I do Saturday news, but no one cares about Saturday news. And waiting until Sunday is just too long. I need to get this stuff out faster. So I think Friday afternoon is when I'll start working on it. That way we can discuss the topics in levity on the Saturday stream. And then Sunday, I'm not exactly sure what I'll do there. Maybe a meme video. There is a lot of memes on the Reddit on Sundays. But anyways, if you want to see any of that, be sure to hit the bell icon to be notified anytime I upload anything. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day. And in terms of bonus news, what if I told you that supposedly F-14 on the end of the year